WWE was once banned from a location they had used regularly before that after a disrespectful segment. The segment was a wild one and has remained extremely infamous. The Big Show and the Big Boss Man were involved in a WWE segment in the past where the latter dragged a casket through the cemetery. The casket supposedly contained the Big Show's father, who had passed away in a storyline. The segment saw Big Show die on the casket and get dragged through the cemetery. On a recent episode off the What Were They Thinking podcast on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Backstage Pass, JBL and Gerald Briscoe spoke about the segment. Briscoe said that others who were at the cemetery and visiting their relatives saw what was happening, and they must have found the situation very disrespectful. As a result, WWE was never invited back and was banned from the location, despite having used the cemetery before to shoot segments involving The Undertaker's graveyard match in the past. After Triple H has taken over WWE's creative as the chief content officer, a lot of things have changed. While the company no longer has graveyard matches, it remains to be seen whether previously closed doors will open under the new CCO and the restrictions will be lifted. In the long and storied history of professional wrestling, few companies have managed to make as significant an impact as World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE. Known for its over-the-top characters, dramatic storylines, and electrifying live events, WWE has entertained fans across the globe for decades. But sometimes, the boundary between entertainment and controversy can blur. In a shocking revelation, a wrestling legend has claimed that WWE was banned from a certain location following a controversial and disrespectful segment that offended not just the audience, but the entire region. This exclusive story sheds light on the incident, explores the nature of the segment, and examines how WWE's provocative approach to storytelling has, at times, pushed boundaries too far. Wrestling legend Bret the Hitman Hart, a name synonymous with excellence in the wrestling ring, has opened up in a recent interview about an incident that he claims led to WWE being banned from a major international venue. According to Hart, the company crossed a line during a live broadcast in the early 2000s that left local authorities with no choice but to ban the promotion from hosting future events. The moment it happened, I knew they were going to get banned, said Hart. There are certain things you just don't do, especially in a place with cultural sensitivities like that. The event in question took place during a tour in the Middle East, where WWE was performing in front of a large, passionate crowd. It was supposed to be a celebration of international wrestling fans, but things quickly took a dark turn during one particular segment that allegedly disrespected the host country's cultural and religious values. Hart recalled the details of the segment that triggered the ban. As part of a storyline, a top WWE heel, villain, playing an American patriot character, came to the ring and cut a promo, an in-ring speech, that was intended to rile up the crowd. What was meant to be traditional heel heat, provoking boos from the audience, went way beyond what anyone had expected. The character was insulting the local people, their customs, and even their religion. It wasn't just your usual cheap heat. It was outright disrespectful, Hart explained. The wrestler, reportedly following a script approved by WWE's creative team, made several inflammatory comments about the country's traditions and religious practices. Hart noted that while heels often insult the local crowds to generate heat, there are unspoken rules about how far you can go. In this case, WWE appeared to have completely ignored those boundaries, resulting in immediate backlash. You can't go into someone's country and mock their beliefs and think it's going to be okay, said Hart. There was no need for it. The fans didn't deserve that, and neither did the country. The reaction to the segment was swift and severe. Fans in the arena were reportedly furious, with many booing louder than they ever had before. According to Hart, some attendees even left the venue in protest. The outrage wasn't limited to the live audience. Local media outlets picked up on the story, condemning WWE for its lack of respect and poor judgment. Within hours, the controversy had spread throughout the region, and local government officials got involved. As a result, the venue management announced that WWE would no longer be welcome to host events at that location. This ban reportedly extended to other venues in the country, effectively shutting WWE out of an entire market. Once the authorities got wind of what had happened, they banned WWE from performing there again, said Hart. They didn't want anything to do with the company after that. While WWE has been banned from certain venues before, often due to logistical issues, safety concerns, or political tensions, This particular case stands out because it was directly related to the content of the show and how it disrespected the local culture. WWE has long been known for pushing the envelope when it comes to storylines and characters. From the infamous Attitude Era in the late 1990s to more recent controversial moments, the company has a history of using shock value to engage its audience. However, there have been times when that approach has backfired. In 1997, for example, WWE faced backlash for a storyline involving Shawn Michaels and the Hart Foundation, which was seen as mocking Canada during a live event in Montreal. While that incident did not lead to a ban, it sparked a heated rivalry between the American and Canadian fans, and the fallout lingered for years. Similarly, in 2003, WWE faced criticism for a segment featuring Muhammad Hassan, a character meant to represent an Arab American struggling with post-9/11 prejudice. While the intention behind the character may have been to spark dialogue about real-world issues, the portrayal was widely seen as insensitive, and the character was eventually written off TV. In the case that Bret Hart is referring to, it seems WWE crossed a line that couldn't be walked back. Despite the company's long-standing success in international markets, particularly in the Middle East, this incident shows that there are limits to how far wrestling's anything-goes mentality can be taken. Although WWE has yet to officially acknowledge the ban, sources within the industry have suggested that the company attempted to mend relations with the country in question. In the years following the incident, WWE reportedly reached out to local officials in hopes of lifting the ban, offering to apologize and make amends for the controversial segment. However, as of Hart's latest statements, it appears the ban remains in place to this day. WWE tried to fix things, but the damage was done, said Hart. There are some things you can't take back. Despite the setback, WWE has continued to thrive in other parts of the Middle East, hosting events in countries like Saudi Arabia, where the company has established a lucrative partnership. However, the ban serves as a reminder that even a global powerhouse like WWE can face consequences for crossing cultural lines. The story of WWE's ban in the Middle East is a cautionary tale about the importance of cultural sensitivity in professional wrestling. While WWE has always relied on larger-than-life characters and outrageous storylines to captivate its audience, there are certain boundaries that should never be crossed. As Bret Hart pointed out, wrestling may be scripted entertainment, but it still has a responsibility to respect the people and places it entertains. Disrespecting a country's culture for the sake of heat is a dangerous game, one that can have long-lasting repercussions. Wrestling is supposed to bring people together, said Hart. It doesn't matter where you are or what your background is. Fans come to see a great show. You can be a villain without being disrespectful. Hart's words ring true, especially in today's increasingly globalized world, where WWE performs in front of diverse audiences from all walks of life. The incident serves as a reminder that while wrestling is meant to push boundaries, there are lines that should never be crossed, because as WWE learned, sometimes there's no coming back.